Hello, everybody. I'm sitting here with Holly Hootman, who is a political activist and member of the executive committee for the Lisle Township Democratic Organization. We're here to discuss some recent controversies surrounding the chairman of the Dupage Democratic Party and some of his comments, as well as some ongoing conflicts, which, according to Hootman, have been ongoing for nearly 6 months now. Holly, would you like to introduce yourself or go into some of your story thus far?
Yeah, no, sure. So my name is Holly Hootman. I myself have a podcast called Deep Dive Dupage, where I interview a lot of Congress people, state senators, state representatives, a lot of local government, but pretty much anybody that runs for office in Dupage County is who I'm looking to interview. So that's mainly what I do. But as a private citizen, I actually am a member of LTDO. As you mentioned, I am a precinct committee person. I am running to be a precinct committee person again this primary cycle. I'm the first Democratic precinct committee person to ever represent this precinct in Dupage County, so I'm pretty proud of that. I am elected by my township, Lisle Township Democrats, to represent them to the Dupage Democratic Party, which we call the DPDC, as an elected delegate. So they vote for me, and then I go to the county and sit on their executive committee to help make decisions and decide what we're going to do. And we meet, typically the meetings are about 4 times a year. But there's been a lot more meetings since Ken McKeown was elected and Cynthia Borbas stepped down. We've had quite a few meetings, and I've attended every one of those. So, and I've been a delegate. After this primary, it'll be 2 years that I've been a delegate for my township.
And yeah, we've known each other through mutual contacts online. Gene Page is one of those. And I've just got to say, it's been a pleasure to actually have you on, despite the circumstances. So to start off, I just thought we would get into kind of some of the conflict between you and the chairman and his perspective, and how it's kind of affected you specifically, and how there were these letters that were released, as well as some of the things that he said in the messages that we've been talking about.
Right. So, it's for those of you who like maybe aren't a precinct committee person, or you sit on the central committee or the executive committee and you're not really part of like the inner workings of the party, it can get a little bit complicated. So I'm going to try and make it real simple. I'm elected to be a precinct committee person. In order to hold any leadership in the party, I must be an elected precinct committee person. And that's pretty much how the vast majority of townships and county organizations work in the collar counties. Again, this is separate from Cook County, very different. And this is pretty much how they work. DuPage County then has 9 townships, and each one of those townships has its own party. Almost similar to the city has ward, kind of like wards. We have townships, and these townships all have their own party. And there's been ongoing issues with the chairman and I, unfortunately, pretty much since the beginning of the year. Ken McKeown and I have been friends for over 5 years. So he is not unknown to me. He was a member of Lisle Township Democrats. He used to live in the precinct next to me, and him and I were very close friends. So this is more than just political. This is also a very hard thing, because I've lost a really good friend of mine, who I feel personally, in my opinion, has been extremely disloyal to me. And I'll give examples of that as we talk about it. But my key issue here right now is that on April 30th, as a member of the executive committee representing my township, Lisle Township Democrats, we voted, to not endorse anyone in this primary cycle of 2022. We were supposed to endorse. We voted on this last summer with former chair Cynthia Borbas to endorse candidates for this primary. And on April 30th at the Central Committee meeting, Chairman Beal said he is not prepared to endorse. They just aren't prepared to do it, that there's just been too much whatever. He wasn't prepared. And we as a Central Committee went ahead and supported him and said we will not endorse. So that means no endorsements for this cycle. The candidates are just going to have to, run their races. And then I mean, within less than a week, maybe two, he sent an endorsement letter. And I know this sounds silly, endorsing an unknown person over a precinct committee person in Lisle Township. And it was on DPDC letterhead. It was signed by Chairman Ken McHale-Beal, and it basically directly endorsed this person over Chair Diane Hewitt. Diane Hewitt is the chairwoman of the Lisle Township Democratic Party. She is also the Lisle Township elected supervisor. So this is also a letter against an elected official. So it's kind of a double whammy. You know what I mean? Because she also happens to be elected as the Lisle Township supervisor, which is a very big position in her township. So it's kind of a big deal. And the problem with this and the dynamic of this is if he becomes the precinct committee person, Diane Hewitt would have to immediately step down as chair of Lisle Township Democrats. Immediately. So right after this primary, the chairwoman would have to step down, and we would have to hold a special election and find someone who can become the chair of Lisle Township Democrats immediately, because we wouldn't even be able to go into the election cycle.
Basically, what you're saying here is that he's not only gone against his word that he gave to you and to the other members of the party, but he's also gone, in a way, attacking Lisle Township's leadership and trying to pull the carpet out from underneath them in a way that is neither constructive nor helpful to the party. I was wondering if you knew like any motivations, any statements that he's made that you believe gives like an examination, like why he went after Hewitt, why he released these letters. Because I know he did make a statement that was his form of an apology, arguing that like it was only meant as his own thing, but he should not have had like the letterhead. I wonder if you can address that after the second question, the first question.
Yeah. So, and I really hope that like you also, you know, with this interview along, you go ahead and put the letter so people can read it for their own words, because he called it an error, and it's not an error. It was intentional. Hundreds of, I mean, probably at least 100. I mean, I don't know exactly how many they mailed. I wasn't in the office when it happened, but it went out on, not only did it go out on DPDC letterhead, but he signed the letter above his title, chair of the Democratic Party of Dupage, right? It was a 2-paragraph letter. There were a lot of words there that were clearly not errors, right? So it was pretty intentional. And then each one of those letters had to be folded and put in an envelope, and little labels had to be made and stamps. I mean, you know, this wasn't like a oops, you know, yeah, it was a snap. You know, I can see people making an error in judgment. That's kind of a snap decision. But this, you know, this kind of, it's a lot of errors we're talking about. And he never once directly apologized to Chairwoman Diane Hewitt. He apologized for making his error, but he didn't actually apologize to her. And he's done absolutely nothing to rectify it with her community. Because let's remember, her precinct is her neighborhood. These are her neighbors that this letter went to. I mean, think about that. Your neighbors that live across the street from you have now got a letter that you're like, no good. You've been the PC for 7 years, but your party doesn't like it. I mean, it's just like, I don't know how like, I can't imagine what I would feel like in my own precinct now, going out to knock doors for candidates after the chair of my party did something like that to me. So you know, and I'll let Diane Hewitt probably speak more towards the types of things that she's endured since Ken McHale-Beal's been the chair. But from what I've witnessed, and this is what I know to be true, Diane Hewitt endorsed Lynn Casey Mayer, who was his opponent. That is a fact. Okay, that's a fact. Lynn Casey Mayer is the chairwoman of Winfield Township Democrats, a longstanding chair in our community, right, with a lot of experience. And that is who Diane endorsed. And since that point, we have had absolutely nothing but problems with our county party. From people being left off emails, to people not getting the information, to not being heard or listened to on the executive committee meetings, even though we're elected delegates and we have the right under the bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order, we have the right for these discussions to be taking place, and we have the rights. These are bylaws. These are rights that are ours, that we hold, that we should be able to have when we sit at these executive committee meetings, and they're just not being upheld. And so it's been a very long year, right? That Lisle Township has really been going through this issue with the county party. And I have to give my chair a lot of credit, because in all honesty, she's really kind of kept her head down. I mean, she really has. She's like, you know what? I'm going to keep my head down. I'm going to focus on the work. I'm not going to let it get to me. We're just going to keep plowing along. And, we set up our office in downtown Naperville, and we're getting ready for the cycle. And I mean, we're just doing all this work. We've got all this tremendous amount of work going on. And, but, and I'm going to let her speak to all the different things that kind of led to that. For me personally, though, when I saw that letter, I need people to understand something. I've been working for over 5 years with Lisle Township Democrats and all the volunteers to build that into one of the strongest organizations in the county, right? And we've raised a ton of money. And we're going to be using that to get out the vote. We just swept our township elections for the first time and took control. The Democrats took control. So, I'm like, we're doing all this hard work, and to have our leader just ripped away from us is really taking away our vote. Right?
Yes.
To have this happen, every single PC that voted for Diane Hewitt to be the chairwoman of Lisle Township Democrats, you're taking away their vote. Right? And that's really important. Like, we shouldn't be in the business of doing this to these folks who are volunteers. These are volunteers who knock hundreds of doors every election cycle for candidates up and down the ticket. These are not paid staffers. These are volunteers. These are nice people, right? And so this isn't just an attack on Diane Hewitt. I mean, I personally feel it as an attack on me as a delegate. It's an attack on our township. It's, and it's just not going to stand, especially when the executive committee, based on the bylaws, voted to not endorse. That doesn't mean that he just gets to go and endorse whomever he pleases, even though the entire delegation said that he cannot, that we are not going to do that. That's not how this works. That's not democracy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, that's not democracy. So, I hope Chairwoman comes on and she can talk more about the different things that led up to this. But for me, this letter is, I have to say, this is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen a chair do to a precinct committee person, but also another chair of a township.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's such an absolute blatant disrespectful thing to do to somebody. And I don't know. I mean, and the apology, it's hollow.
Well, and I would also add, I think it is dangerous in terms of credibility wise. Do you think that part of the issue is not only the attack on, say, your work, but also Diane's, is that it creates this environment in which, say, the Republican Party is watching this and sees the dysfunction? Do you think it not only helps undermine the party of the Democrats, but also invigorates the Republicans to organize further?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the part of this that's really difficult, right? When you have an issue, like I have serious issues right now, and I have multiple serious issues, and we're only talking about 2 tonight. And they're very serious. And I have written proof to back up everything that I'm talking about tonight, as well as anything I talk about in the future. I've held my tongue now for over 10 months. I've kept my mouth shut. I've been quiet. I've not said, you know what I mean? A few times I've been like, okay, this is not acceptable, but I didn't lay it right at the doorstep of where it really belonged, which is at the chair's feet. I didn't do that. I said, we need to be doing better. This is not the type of thing we should be doing, right? But there's right now, there's a climate in DuPage County that if I lobby my elected officials, then it's my fault that they don't get reelected. There is to be no lobbying. There is to be nothing. And see, that's not okay, right? Because when they were doing the maps for DuPage County, right, we had the majority for the first time, and we voted in maps that were Republican maps. And I had a problem with that. And so, and I had a problem with that. And I laid it all out, and I put the links, I put the research, I put statements from different county board members, and I was lobbying other county board members to please not pass this map. Please don't do this, to rethink it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's my right as a citizen. That's my duty as a citizen, as a fellow Democrat, to lobby my elected officials for the best results, period. And if you do that in DuPage County, though, right now, they immediately attack the messenger. It's not, this is wrong, what's going on? Like, let's deal with what's wrong and let's fix it. It's, oh no, you're wrong because you're telling everybody, shh. See, but we can't, but we're not fixing things. If we can't do it in private, it's not being addressed in an email. It's not being addressed over a phone call. It's not being addressed when you send them a letter. And these are all things I've done, right? If you're not addressing things this way, and you're not addressing things on the executive committee in the privacy of our own party, then at some point, sooner or later, people will boil over and it will spill out into the public. Right?
And I would also kind of think that turns us towards some of the comments that were mentioned earlier that were ended up being leaked, involving text messages in which the chairman, and I have it right here if I'm holding it correctly, he said, during our last minute, I made it clear that the attacks on our candidates and our organization would not be accepted. Holly Hootman, a member of the EC, has been attacking our organization for over the year. She has been warned about this behavior, and over the weekend, she has started it again. He then proceeds to suggest removing you from the executive committee. I was wondering if you could go into a bit of details about what behavior he's referring to. Is it tied to some of the organizing you're mentioning, or is it due to some other things involving the maps? I know that there have been allegations that specific individuals in District 2 are involved, but if you don't want to go into that, we can go into that in a different time.
I'm happy to go into that because I'm on record with that, right? Here's the thing, I'm on record with this, right? I interview elected officials, I interview grassroots leaders, I interview lobbyists, I interview people. And as part of interviewing people, it's my obligation to understand really what is going on if I'm going to be having an interview with somebody. And I interviewed Amy Chavez, Member Chavez, and Member Spellman. I interviewed both of them over those maps, right? And I have a show that we specifically talk about those maps. So I'm on record on all of that, so I don't mind that at all. When he talks about over a year, he's not been the chairman for a year yet. So I believe this email was on May 4th. It was an email, not a text message, I believe. And it was, so that's May 4th. First of all, it's not been a year that he's been the chair, number one. Number two, I'm not attacking any candidates. I'm not. Yes, did I hold elected officials accountable? Absolutely. There were officials who not only gave us Republican maps, I held them accountable, but I also held them accountable when they voted against the first DuPage Art Festival. We are having the first DuPage Art Festival this upcoming Saturday for the first time. It's a Democratic initiative led by, I think, 3 Democratic county board members, and they voted against it. And so, I'm trying to lobby them to vote for it. And then when they don't vote for it, yes, I hold them accountable for that. But don't I have the right, if I'm doing a government and politics podcast, do I not have the right to do that? Did I miss something here? Did my volunteering for the party mean that I could no longer honestly interview elected officials? You know what I mean? So I don't know how you could honestly do that and not offend apparently Chairman McBeal. Now, those are the 2 things I think he could be talking about, because he's kind of vague. He's not being very specific. I think the word minute, I think he means meeting. I think he's talking about the last executive committee on April 30th. And at the end of the meeting, under new business, Delegate Galloway was bringing up an issue that he's very upset about in regards to an expenditure for $36,000 that the executive committee did not approve. And he's very upset about that. And he's been very upset about that for, I don't know, 10 months now. And so he brought that up again in new business because nobody's responding to his letters to the party. And then he also said that he's been dropped off of all the executive committee emails. So now he's been dropped off emails. I've been dropped off emails. I believe Chairman Hewitt was dropped off emails. I believe I have multiple other people reaching out to me who say they've been dropped off the emails. And so he was dropped off. So he couldn't even be at the meeting because he didn't get the email if he didn't reach out to me to send him the link. So he brought that up. And they literally just like attacked him. And they're like, you don't have this, you don't have standing, you don't have this. I mean, it was really disrespectful. And I kind of stood up and said, hey, I said, I've been left off these emails as well. And it's really problematic because if you don't send me the email to the meeting, I clearly can't attend the meeting. Right. And I don't know there's a meeting if I didn't get the email. It's really problematic. I don't know what's going on with your system, but what are we doing? And it was all seen as this is all negative. And we're just trying to figure out why are people continuously getting left off email. And when that was all said and done, which neither I or Mr. Galloway were treated very respectfully, I brought up my new business. And my new business was that I have 35 or 34 posts pending on their Facebook page. I do a lot of promotion for LTDO Democrats. I'm very good with social media, and I go around and I promote our Cinco de Mayo events. I'm also the postcard project liaison. And so I do all the promotion for getting out the postcards. We're mailing 10,000 postcards to voters in Lisle Township. And so I need volunteers to do those things. And so none of the posts for the LTDO were being approved that I was putting in their group, right? And then also none of my deep dive interviews. So when I interviewed Bill Foster, when I interviewed Sean Casten, Marie Newman, Senator Ellman, Delia Ramirez running for Congress, or Dagmara Villar, or Patrick Watson, or Christina Zahorik, or Renato Mariotti. I mean, I have good guests, Connor, you know what I mean? I do, right?
I guess I'm going to have to learn some tricks from you.
I know, I do. I do get good guests, right? And they're not approving them in their Dupage Democratic group. These are all their candidates.
Yeah, that sounds like a remarkably bad strategy overall. Like, one of the things I've done in my past is a lot of times I try to bring on different people with different perspectives, many of which are online commentators, but also people on the ground. I've had professors and whatnot. And the idea of having these ideas that we're trying to express, or you're trying to express in this case, not being able to promote them in the environment that claims to express those ideas seems remarkably counterintuitive. Have you ever gotten any comments back explaining why? Was it a technical issue?
Yes, oh, yeah. So I brought it up in the executive committee meeting, and I think that may be what upset him. And I said, I just want to know what the parameters are. Am I allowed to promote your candidates that are running this primary cycle? And am I allowed to promote LTDO events and get out the vote efforts in your group? Am I allowed to do this? I just want a yes or no. And he went into, well, you violated the code of conduct. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what he meant by I'm violating a code of conduct. I actually sat on the executive committee that voted the code of conduct in, and I've read the code of conduct. And so I don't know what he's talking about. But, he might be talking about when I posted that post about the maps in DuPage County, and I showed the new maps and the old maps and how they didn't change, and all the statements from the different county board members in regards to the issues that we had when those maps passed. They passed on the first version, and they passed a month early. I want you to think about that.
They did not take the time that you wanted them to.
Not only did they not take the time, they was split. Half the Democrats voted with the Republicans to get one Democrat, and all the Republicans got it out of committee on the first version a month early. Then it's on the floor. All the Republicans and a handful of the Democrats passed those maps. First version, and they look almost identical to the same maps the Republicans have been drawing for 100 years.
So basically, you've got the lost momentum. You've got issues of being able to
And
represent.
that's the only thing I can think of that I've posted to his group that he would feel, you know, I don't know, but I was posting many, but I posted other things after that, and it was never a problem. So I don't know. Suddenly, they just decided that they weren't going to post anything. When they fired the treasurer, who's also our treasurer at LTDO, that was Ken McKeel-Beal's first meeting. When they did that, I stood up for Robert Sachs because he's one of the smartest financial advisors in politics in DuPage County. He's been doing politics here for 25 years. He's absolutely brilliant. And so I stood up for him because it was absolutely like unexpected and not on the agenda. And it was just not, it was not okay. And ever since then, it's been downhill. Ever since then, my posts haven't been approved. I haven't been getting emails. I've been so it's just been downhill ever since. And so what he is specifically talking about, both in that text that I sent you, which is actually, I think, the text from an email that was sent on March 4th, or whether it's something I posted to his Facebook group. I find that hard to believe that that's a violation of code of conduct, right? And I'm not attacking candidates. If we have somebody who's an elected official and they're not doing if they're not doing something, and I'm issue based and I'm talking about an issue, and I'm going to work on that issue. And sometimes I have to lobby people on the left. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but sometimes we actually have to lobby our own side, and that's okay. And I don't win them all. And some of them I lose and some of them I win, right? I lost the maps, right? I won the art festival. I lost the, I lost the maps. That really pisses me off. But I won the art festival. I also put a hold on the consolidation of precincts in Dupage County. Dupage County is the only county that didn't consolidate their precincts because the map was absolutely ridiculous. And it was completely done with zero transparency to the public. Not okay. And then I also won closed captioning for the hearing impaired on the Dupage County Board. And that is probably my single most proud win, that it took 5 years of lobbying to get closed captioning on the Dupage County Board so that people who are hearing impaired can follow along in the meeting, both online and in the room.
So to clarify, and that's amazing that it took that long. Yeah, it's amazing that took that long. You would think,
yes.
I mean, if you can literally just go into an audio file and like automatically set it up on a video editor, you shouldn't have too much of an issue for the county board.
Right. You would think, but no, it took 5 years. It wasn't until we took the majority that it really got rolling, and member Selman and member Covert on the DuPage County Board worked really hard. I was told every time I spoke at the DuPage County Board, I mentioned it, and every time the chairman had some technical, we can't do that. Our technology isn't we don't have the technology. And I'm like, well, if you put the meetings on YouTube, you can have closed captioning. I mean, it really isn't that, and so that was the first step, was getting all of them on YouTube, which also makes it more accessible to the public, because what they had before was like you couldn't do it on a smartphone. It wasn't very accessible. It was very antiquated and outdated. It was really bad. And so that was the first step. But now they actually do have where closed captionings are part of the video. There is somebody correcting it so that it's accurate in the room in real time. And so it is really, and I know it seems like a simple thing, but apparently it was a lot more complicated than I had, but had anticipated. But again, that's lobbying, right? And when I didn't get it the first time, I kept on and kept on and kept on. And I guarantee you I'll be living in DuPage County when we do these maps again. And we're going to change the maps next time, or I'm going to lobby. Like, that's the whole point. And, I want to be really clear about this for me. Like, this isn't like I'm a progressive and I'm like making like moderate. I'm actually a moderate. And it's funny because everybody's like, oh, you're a progressive, and and I'm like, since when did Holly Hootman become a progressive? Because all the progressives in my party, in DuPage, when they see that, they laugh. They're like, oh yeah, Holly's a progressive. They laugh because they're like, she's not a progressive. She's not, like, she's cool, but she's not a progressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not about that. It's about, this is the issue. Let's lobby it and let's make it happen. And then I don't win them all. Right. I also was part of opt-in for cannabis in Naperville and opt-in for cannabis on DuPage County. I lost in Naperville, but I did lobby it hard enough that it went to referendum and it finally passed. And we are making a tremendous amount of revenue. Thank you very much. That was a year-long lobby. It was a lot of work. Was not successful on the DuPage County Board. Unfortunately, they did not vote to legalize it in unincorporated areas, the sale of it. And so, that's why when I went to that meeting where they talked about that, where we actually accidentally messed up not collecting a year's revenue. I went to that meeting just to hear what was going on because I had done the lobby to try and get them to sell it so we could make, you know what I mean? So we could get the full tag. Anyway, so it's complicated. The whole cannabis thing is really complicated. But so I lobby based on issue, right? And I may be really progressive on cannabis, but I might not be as progressive on healthcare. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So to kind of get back to what you were saying about the lobbying and the shifting of the political system within DuPage County, it seems to me that the issue is that you have specific issues that you want addressed, and the county party is expecting a sort of quasi unity at the expense of those issues, where they're expecting compliance, they're expecting a lot less direct criticism of specific figures. And that's part of the reason that perhaps this email was sent out and why there has been such a conflict. Would you say that's an accurate description?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I mean, unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly what it was that triggered Ken McKeown to betray our friendship and to do the things that he started doing, somewhere around the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and start sending email chains around to all the leaders of the party. There's so many different things that have happened that I can't necessarily say which, you know what I mean? That would be up to him. Because see, here's the thing. Everything I'm responding to in regards to the DuPage Democratic Party is what they've done. Like, you dropped me off the emails. You didn't give me the link to the special election. I can't vote. It's a problem. That's not my fault. You sent out a letter to take down my chair. You're sending emails out to remove me as an elected delegate. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm literally responding to you're not approving any of the work I'm doing for your candidates. So, and if you're not going to answer it to me through proper channels, right, then you leave me no other choice. Because here's the thing, at this point, I have two choices, right? I can continue to be quiet and silent, right? Which is what they want me to do. They want me to be quiet. They want me to shut up. They don't want me to put anything out on social media or anything publicly or anything, nothing, right? Don't nothing. Or I could fight, right? I could fight for the work that I've done and the leadership roles that I have that I've worked for. I worked for each one of these things. These weren't handed to me, right? I worked for 5 years to build LTDO with a bunch of wonderful people, and we have built it into a wonderful thing. And I'm not going to sit by and watch people destroy that. I'm just not. These are really good people, number one. Number two, I'm not going to sit by and let you strip me of my elected position. It's not okay. The members of Lisle Township Democrats, they voted for me to be their delegate because they trust me to represent them and have their best interests at heart. And that's why they voted for me. And I've I've attended my meetings. I've done my duty. I have read all the paperwork. I have read the agendas. I've read all the backup materials. I've done everything according to the bylaws of the DPDC and Robert's Rules of Order. Okay. So I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. So I have two choices here. I can either fight or I could quit. And a lot of people have quit. And a lot of people are quitting, right? Ashley Selman, the county board member from DuPage County Board, has stepped down. And when we're done with this interview, I'm happy to send you her statement. But in it, she talks about the bullying and harassing that she has endured the entire 4 years while she was on the board, and the 2 years that she has been the vice chair of the board, and why she can no longer wants to hold her elected position in District 1 on DuPage County Board. And it's really sad. She's one of the youngest members. I think she's probably the youngest woman ever elected to the DuPage County Board. And she's brilliant and she's smart, and she's who got me closed captioning. So, you know what I mean? And she's real smart, and I'm going to miss her, but we're losing really good people, because really good people aren't going to stick. Politics is rough enough. It doesn't need to be like this. Does that make sense? Like the bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order and all these things, they're kind of put in place because politics is rough, and it kind of keeps everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The rules. Yeah.
It keeps things cohesive and makes things a little more under control, despite the business that you're in. I had a somewhat similar experience in that one of the things I did a while back was a video going after a neo-Nazi, because obvious reasons. And unfortunately, there was a person out there, I won't name them, who felt it was inappropriate of me to use footage of him. Meanwhile, I'm getting death threats from the people I'm going after to make that footage. So it's one of those things where it's like, do we really need to be fighting here? We've got this goal. We've got these things we need to work on. Don't shoot the ally in the foot. Right.
I mean, when I talk to the candidates that are running in DuPage County, specifically running in Lisle Township, and okay.
All right, go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about like not shooting your ally in the foot, I think what we need to realize here is, I mean, I talk to candidates every day. I work with candidates all the time. And when I talk to candidates about what's going on, I explain to them the problem with this is, I want you to imagine you're going into this election cycle fighting to get reelected, and Diane Hewitt, the power engine that got you elected last time, is immediately no longer the chair of Lisle Township Democrats. And we have to now, within 30 days, find a new leader and elect a new leader. And that new leader has to figure out how to do all those things. Like, does that, you know what I'm saying? Like, does that really seem to, so I don't, and it doesn't sound wise to them either. It makes them panicky, right? Like to purposefully take down a chair, because normally what happens is the chair steps down and you know long in advance that they're stepping down, and the vice chair steps up or somebody else, and that person works with them and they work through it, so there's a bit of training, that kind of thing. But to have a chair forcibly removed like this, and that's what that would be, she would immediately have to step down, then we're going to be focused on how we save our organization. We can't help you get elected in November, right? And so for countywide, when you look at the map, Lisle Township is critical in winning countywide races. We are critical to JB taking DuPage County, period. I mean, we are the blue heart of DuPage, right? So it's between us and Downers Grove and Naperville, it's always kind of like, who's going to be bluer? It's kind of like that's the blue, that's kind of the blue strip of DuPage right there. So right in between the two, now you've taken down one whole organization. So I don't know. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, I get it. If you don't like each other, okay, fine. But we don't have to like each other to be able to work together and be professional. I'm sorry, but we don't. I mean, there's plenty of people in politics that I do not like, that I have worked with on many projects successfully, because that's what you do. We're a team, we have a goal, let's get it done, let's move on. And then I don't have to work with this person again, but that's fine. You know what I mean? We're not going to hang out. We're not going to be besties, but that doesn't.
Hello there.
primary. I'd really like to do the rest of the contested primaries for congressional races because we have a lot of them in DuPage County. But right now, you know what I'm focused on? I'm focused on saving LTDO and the 5 years worth of work I put in. That's what I'm focused on right now. And unfortunately, I'm not focused on getting Democrats elected. And that's the problem, right? And the same goes for Diane Hewitt or anybody else that's now trying to fight to maintain the 5 years worth of hard work, that we've done. And so I don't know. I mean, I really hope the voters in her precinct vote for her. I really hope that they, understand that, I don't know how, I mean, they don't understand the party structure. So they're not going to understand that, oh, well, this Daniel guy, he's from the HOA and oh, he's real nice. And, that real weird looking girl that shows up, with the Democrat clipboard in the middle of winter every year, who's she? We know him from, you know what I mean? Like, he's this like good looking guy and he's from the HOA and, I don't know. I think, I think it's awful that she's being primaried to begin with, but I also think the fact that Chairman Ken McKeelbill did this, I mean, he's lost all credibility whatsoever. Any credibility he may have had, he's completely lost in our township, and I know that he's lost it in other townships as well. And I think, and his apology is completely hollow, in my opinion. It's just completely, absolutely hollow. And can I keep quiet? I can't sit back and watch them destroy all the hard work that all these wonderful people have done. I mean, me and Diane worked our butts off to get rid of Peter Roscom and Randy Holgren. I mean, that's how we met. When the party said, no, we're not going after them, me and Diane Hewitt said, oh, yes, we are. And we worked our butts off, right? So I can't let that happen to really good people. And am I violating the code of conduct? I don't believe that I am, because I'm literally simply responding to what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's part of the process too. A party doesn't just remain the same; it changes over time depending upon what the people on the ground have to work with, the conditions that they fight in. And to me, it seems like, just based off what you've just shown me and what you've told me and others as well, it seems to me that that process is seen as a threat to the party rather than a part of the party's growth.
Correct. Yeah, and I don't understand it. Like I don't understand. Here's the thing. In Lisle Township, if we work our butts off and our township goes blue, the county's candidates win. They win from our hard work. So why are they making it so hard on themselves? I mean, they really are making it hard on themselves. There are candidates that are running right now, countywide, that if they don't carry Lisle Township, they don't win. I mean, that's just the facts. And so I don't understand why they think this is productive for their candidates. Is it because they're, it's not November, so let's do it now when it's not? No, see, every election cycle is an opportunity to get out the Democratic vote. A Democrat that votes in a primary votes in a general. Democrats are notorious for not showing up at a midterm. So if we get them in the primary, we'll definitely get them in the general, right? So it's like, no, we should be all a go right now. We should be, Lisle Township should be knocking thousands of doors right now, but instead we have to turn around and focus on, okay, how do we manage this, and how do we do damage control on a letter when your chair sent this to everybody in your chair in your leader's precinct? How do we continue to show up to executive meetings when we're dropped off the emails? How do we hang on to our delegate now, who we found out is actually being removed? I mean, this is not like, I wasn't supposed to get that. That email was not for Holly Hootman or my chair or my township or anybody that elected me. I wasn't supposed to see that. That's happening behind my back. They're trying to remove me from my elected position with zero transparency. So Yeah, I choose to fight about that. I choose to say that's not okay. I choose to stand up for myself and my township. And, they have left a huge digital footprint these last 10 months of all the things that they've done. They've left an enormous digital footprint. It makes it, the fact that they sent this letter out, the fact that I have this email, I have many other emails. I mean, they've left us such a big digital footprint. And I'm thinking to myself, why do you keep attacking me? I'm not saying anything about your party. Like, it's like, but at some point, it's like enough, right? I
Mm.
mean, you just get to a point where it's like, okay, enough. There's only so many lies people can tell about you. There's only so many attacks that somebody can take. You talk about neo-Nazis. I'm being doxxed by Shannon Adcock in Awake, Illinois right now, and the Republican Party and the far right and the hate groups. I am being doxxed. They know my name. They know my phone number. They know where I live. I'm being blasted on right-wing organizations all across the country. And meanwhile, I have my own party throwing knives at my back, so it's kind of really frustrating to me that I should be focused on fighting this hate group that is really pretty much, I'm in Naperville and Awake, Illinois is from Naperville. And so they're headquartered here. And I should be focused on that. I should be focused on getting out the vote. I should be focused on finding candidates and helping candidates and doing all this kind of stuff. This is what I should be focused on: interviewing people and getting out information and about agendas and platforms and lobbying and all that good stuff. And instead, I have to stop everything I'm doing. I have to contact these Congress people back, or these people running for Congress, and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't have time to do your primary." Because number one, I have COVID right now. And number two, I'm fighting my own party, and I'm fighting for my elected position. And so is the chair of my party. And, and I don't, I don't want to sound like I'm the victim, because I'm not. I'm fighting, right? But I'm fighting what they're doing. So, and what's frustrating, I think, mostly deep down inside, is that I'm being blamed for what they're doing. Does that make sense? Like, I'm the bad person. We're going to lose because of you. It's all your fault. And I'm like, but I didn't send the letter. I didn't send those emails. I didn't slander you. I'm not attacking. You know what I mean?
Like you're from your perspective, it's you're not the one who initiated the conflict. You're the one who's responding, but the response is seen as a threat to the party rather than the initiation.
And right, and I've tried responding for the most part pretty quietly, and I've tried responding pretty and they're just not. Nothing that I have said has resonated with them. Nothing that I have said or that I have done on the executive, nothing has been seen as coming from a good place. It's almost like, you're from Lyle, you're awful, and we're not going to deal with you. And the sad part about this is I met Ken McKeown at Lyle Township Democrats. And he was a huge friend of mine. We were good friends for a long time. And politics aside, we always got along. Our precincts were next to each other. And I don't understand it. To this day, I don't understand. I don't understand it. I mean, here's the thing. If you look at our ticket right now in DuPage County, we have tons of open slots. His job as the chair right now should be slating those candidates, right? I have a Republican senator running. I have no Democrat running for state Senate. I have a Republican representative, Amy Grant, no opponent, right? I think there's 3 or 4 state races that have no Democrat. So why don't we leave Holly Hootman alone and Diane Hewitt and go slate those candidates, right? I don't, I'm laughing because if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry, I don't understand. Like, I show up, I do my job, and that's it. And, in new business, I thought that was the place to explain to them, like talk to them about what is the protocol for me being able to post Democratic information on your site.
Yeah.
Like, what is it for LTDO and for us and for everybody? So we know, like, what is wrong with these and what is wrong with the things that I've been sending? These 35 posts or forward posts that are backed up. What's wrong with them? So that we can move on and we can continue to do business and get out the vote, because we're moving into election cycle. It's really important because at the end of the day, as I said, those postcards help elect their candidates. Those interviews help their candidates, their elected officials. Those are all their candidates in DuPage County. It helps their PCs be knowledgeable when they're at the door knock. It helps other people, it's helping everybody in a pandemic know what they passed, what they didn't pass. It gives you information. So when you're talking at the door with your voters, you can say, oh, no, actually, there's a bill for that now. And this is it. And let me get you in connection with the state senator so you can get that done. See, we don't have as much face time with these elected officials because of COVID. So this has really kind of helped people hear what their reps and senators and Congress people have been doing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
I
don't understand what we're supposed to do if Lyle can't work with their county party.
So to kind of wrap up and get to the final thing is, do you think that currently with the current leadership, the Democratic Party, particularly in our county, will be able to not only push back on organizations like Awake Illinois, but also some of the frustration that has been had over COVID and a lot of the political energy that comes with that? Or do you believe that with the current leadership, the DuPage Democrats are in a position to get severely damaged in their electoral prospects?
I think that number one, the county party, Awake Illinois has been around. Shannon Adcock, the leader of Awake Illinois, has been around for 2 years now. The county has done nothing. Nothing. She is probably the largest growing rise of hate in Illinois. I've worked really hard with some friends to report her to Southern Poverty Law Center. We're trying to get her rated as a hate group. I just worked really hard to keep her from being on the SECA board at Naperville, because SECA gives out money for culturally diverse events in Naperville. And we were, so far, knock on wood, we were successful with that. The county's done nothing. The county didn't approve my actions to show up and speak at that. The county has done absolutely zero against Awake Illinois. So under this current leadership. So I don't, the county primarily, I don't know how involved they're going to be in Naperville's elections, but I fully expect Shannon Adcock and the people of Awake Illinois to be running for local government and school boards. School boards and city councils, I expect them to be running, and I don't know that I'll have that much help from the county party. Again, this is why the township party is so critical, right? This is why Lisle Township Democrats is so critical right now, because we are in the epicenter of the largest hate group in Illinois. And so this is, and it is my mission to do that and to deal with that. And I've been doing so. And I would love to have help from the Democratic Party of DuPage. Anytime they want to come help me fight Shannon Adcock, I'm all in. In regards to being able to win in November, I don't know how to answer that. And I'm usually a pretty positive person. And I'm kind of one of those people that, like, if I say it's going to happen, we're going to do it. Like when I said I'm going to get rid of Peter Oscom, I did it. And I'm kind of like that. Like I like to see it positively in my head first and say it. And if I say it enough times, we'll make it happen. And maybe I can answer this question after the primary, but I don't even know what's going to happen to my own LTDO organization that I use to elect to work on these things. I don't know who's going to be the chair of my party. I don't know if we're going to have a chair, right? So I have to get through this primary cycle. My chairwoman has to win her precinct. And then, I might have a better handle on what we're going to be doing the next couple of months to get out the vote, to ensure that we win in November, at least in Loudoun Township and DuPage County, right? Because that's the goal. And I know what the goal is, and I'd like to win that goal, and that's what I want to have happen. So I know that if we're going to continue to go if we're going to continue to do this, where we do everything we can to take down Loudoun Township Democrats, I don't see how we can be successful. I just don't. We're not going to be successful if the huge chunk voting block of Loudoun Township doesn't deliver. And we can't deliver if we're fighting for our very existence. So that's just the way it is. In regards to, this will be my third chair with the DPDC, right? And, everyone I talk to that's feeling this way is just like, I never, ever thought it could be this bad. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. And that's just where we are. And all I can say to candidates is keep your head down, run your race, knock your doors, raise your money, get out the vote. And, I don't know what to say, because it's really hard for the candidate, because the candidates are walking through, literally walking through minefields right now. If they talk to Holly Hootman, that's it. It's like scorched earth. Or if they talk to Diane Hewitt, or if they talk to this person, or if this person, it's a dynamic that, it doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't. And it wasn't like this. Was it perfect under Bob Picart? No. Was it perfect under Cynthia Borbas? No. But it wasn't like this. And I don't know. I guess I'll have to go back to the last couple chairs and ask them, has a elected delegate ever been removed by a chair? Has that ever even happened in the DuPage Democratic Party? I don't know. I don't even know. To me, we're in uncharted waters. I don't know. Do they need Holly Hootman to win? No. But they need Loudoun Township. They need us. And whether they like it or not, they need us. They need our ground game. They need our money. They need our door knockers. They need us, especially for those down ballot races that don't have a lot of money. So, but I don't, unfortunately, I kind of thought we could keep our head down and get through this cycle, but I don't know. It's not what's happening. And, maybe the chair will have some more positive words than I do, or maybe a more positive outlook. It's why she's our chair. It's why she's the leader of LTDO. So I would count on her. So, but for me right now, I'm going to get over COVID. I'm going to pack up my bags. I'm going to knock on my doors. I'm going to get out my vote. I'm going to, I'll probably knock. I'm going to try and knock between now and the election, 3 precincts. That was my goal, but I got COVID, and of course I can't knock doors until I'm free of COVID. But we are pretty much rounding up on being able to send. So we will be sending 10,000 postcards to voters to get out the vote for this primary. We hope to do another 10,000 for the general. So, that's a lot of mailers for a small township when you think about it. And we might actually do we might do an actual mailer, a letter mailer. I don't know. I wish I had better news for you, Connor. I really wish I could say, yeah, we're going to do this. But, I said it in 2018 and I said it in 2020 that DuPage County was going to deliver. I said, we're going to deliver this. We're going to do it. I don't know. I trust in my people at LTDO that we'll get it done. And let's put it there, because I'm going to, it's not just Diane Hewitt, it's all of us.
Well, on
Does
that
that
note,
make sense?
yes. Well, and on that note, I would like to thank you again for coming on. I know this has been very intense for you. In the future, I may, since Zoom is kind of a bit of a difficult platform, we may do this live if we ever want to talk again, and that way we can do it without any sort of additional issues. But thanks again for coming on. I'll be happy to talk to Diane Hewitt, who will be talking to me tomorrow at 6:30 p.m.
Nice.
And thanks again for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing it. DuPage County is the second largest county in Illinois. And, you know, I come from Cook County. It's where I was born and raised. But I've been in DuPage for 7 years now. We can't win the governor's race without DuPage County. So y'all in DuPage, election is June 28th. Everybody in Illinois, vote, right? So we need everybody to vote and get out there. Are you going to be home for the election by any chance, Connor? Are you going to be out knocking doors?
I'm hoping to get out there, but I'll if not, I will get my mail-in ballot because I did request it, and I'll send it
Nice.
in. And I will also be paying attention to it through my blog and getting stuff out there for you.
Nice, very nice. All right. Well, thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.